to introduce to you to a guy that speaks better Spanish than I, but he'll give the presentation in English. And he's going to talk to us about Stop Thinking Gay, 7 ways to market to today's LGBT travelers by Mark Chestnut. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Gracias. I am. And I've got a great surprise to you. The title originally said 7 ways to market to today's LGBT traveler. I'm giving you a bonus one. It's going to be 8, absolutely free, just because you called now. So isn't that cool? Okay, so we're going to start by taking a look at how LGBT travelers have changed over the years. This is actually how I've changed over the years. The little redheaded kid, that's me, I guess in the late 60s or something, in front of a really old American Airlines aircraft. So I've changed, but even more importantly, LGBT travelers have changed, and for various reasons, many of which we already know about. Part of it is because culture has changed, society has changed, and there's more acceptability for LGBT rights and civil rights in general around the world. Same-sex marriage, obviously, is also more accepted and more common in various places around the world. And so marketing efforts have also changed in terms of how travel agents and tourism offices and travel companies are marketing themselves to LGBT travelers. So we're going to take a look at a few ways to do that. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is to forget that we're gay. Forget that these travelers are LGBT. And the reason why I'm saying that is because if we take that away for just a moment, it's going to help us to open up our minds to consider the incredible diversity of LGBT travelers, because there is no one single, I'm standing here and I am representative of every LGBT traveler. No, it doesn't work that way, and we all know that. So the first step in terms of how to target these people, to target me, is to diversify. So recognize the diversity. These are just a few examples of the different types of LGBT travelers there are. So there are families with kids, there are multi-ethnic travelers, there are multi-generational travelers. So you might have mixed gay and straight family members traveling together, upscale travelers, budget travelers, senior citizens, young travelers. So just like the universe of travelers in general, LGBT travelers are extremely diverse. So there is not one size fits all way to target LGBT travelers, because we are all so different. This is a way. Is it starting?
We are checking in for the weekend. Welcome. I'll be with you in just 1 moment.
I hate when this happens.
Hey, I'm going to go freshen up.
Technology isn't always our friend, is it?
I'll be right here.
At any rate, I'm just going to talk over this since we can't see the video apparently. Another thing to do is to integrate your marketing efforts. Because of the diversity of LGBT travelers, a lot of destinations and travel agencies and tour companies and destinations are marketing themselves to LGBT travelers as an integral part of their overall marketing strategy and sales strategy. This was going to be a really cool video from the Las Vegas CVB, but I guess we can't get it to work. ¿Hay una manera para hacerlo? Oh, no. Quizás no. Okay. So at any rate, this is one of my favorite video representations of how the Las Vegas CVB integrated their marketing efforts in a way that was attractive and actually even entertaining to the mainstream travelers as well as LGBT travelers. If you give me your card afterwards, I can give you a copy, a PDF of this presentation, and I think I can also send you a link to this in video format so you can check it out, because it's a really funny commercial. It's from more than a year ago, but I love it so much I keep showing it for LGBT travelers. Yeah. So, but those are some ideas. Tip number 4 is to know your media. So we already mentioned how LGBT travelers are getting their information from a lot of different places, both gay-specific and mainstream, quote-unquote. So these are just a few examples. In terms of online sources, you have gay-specific sites like gaycities.com. A good resource for you as a travel agent or a wedding planner, perhaps, there's a site called Purple Roofs, which lists independent, mostly it's small, boutique-style hotels, B&Bs, that are, some of them are LGBT owned, some of them are just LGBT friendly, but it's a great resource for much smaller properties. So if you really find yourself in a bind, you don't know where to send somebody in a lesser known destination, you can look on there and see what's happening. Something is flying at my head. What is going on here? Anyway, but then TripAdvisor and LatinFlyer.com, both of these sites are quote unquote mainstream travel sites, but also list gay travel information. So they can be good resources as well. And the list goes on and on. Roofs, ROOFS, so purpleroofs.com. Would it be roofs instead of roofs? Depending on where you're from, is that it? Oh, okay. Okay. The linguistics. Okay. Another thing, tip number 5 is to create shareable moments. This is an example that we wouldn't be able to do ourselves, but this Air New Zealand, a year or two ago, they had their first, well, perhaps their only in-flight same-sex marriage wedding ceremony. And so it created a lot of press coverage. It gave great visuals. It was exciting. It looked like a lot of fun. And so this is the sort of thing that perhaps we wouldn't be setting up ourselves for our clients or for people we know. But if you create shareable moments for your clients and encourage them to share it, and they can even tag you or mention you, if you have a good relationship with your client, they should be happy to say that, they're so pleased with the fact that you got them set up at this great hotel, they got an upgrade or whatever, or their same-sex wedding went super well. And the shareable moments get shared, and people like to see the possibilities. Providing valuable resources is tip number 6, because we all need good travel advice, good travel recommendations, whether it's about the best shopping or the best hotels or the best nightlife or the best restaurants. This is an example of a blog that's operated by Preferred Pride Hotels, part of Preferred Hotels and Resorts. And so they frequently update this with just little tip sheets. So this current one from November 23rd is the gayest things you can do in Mexico. And but they are constantly updating this with new information. So that can be a good resource. So if you have a blog, or even if you don't, if you just share on Twitter or on Instagram or just on Facebook, whatever your preferred method of sharing information, you can share, even if it's just a little tiny thing, insider information that you have access to, that you found out about, or that your clients have told you about, can help to make you a valuable resource and show that you are an expert in your field. Number 7 is listen to your employees. And I know a lot of people here may not have employees or coworkers. If you do, listen to them. This is an example of large companies like Marriott International and American Airlines, for example. They have LGBT employee groups that are very well organized. And so, of course, these big companies, they love to show oh, we treat our LGBT employees so well, and so they really show off that they have these organizations, that they get great work ratings, and that's a good thing. That's good. But they also use those organizations for ideas. They get ideas from their LGBT employees about what should they be doing next. They get suggestions from them about, how can they market better to LGBT travelers. So you can do that too. If you don't have employees or coworkers, then you can still talk to, you can talk to your clients, you can talk to your friends and your family and that sort of thing. Oh, it's working? Okay, thank you. Gracias. Okay. One of the big things that's making a lot of headlines, obviously, is same-sex marriage, and that presents a lot of opportunities for us in terms of destination weddings and same-sex honeymoons. So there's a lot of reasons to celebrate, a lot of reasons to sell. So we'll talk a little bit about that right now. There are more opportunities than ever before. This map actually kind of summarizes where you might find the most opportunities in terms of the destinations you'd be selling for either a wedding or a honeymoon. The darker colored countries, they're dark blue, are the ones where same-sex marriage is legal or the most legal. So those are most likely the places where you're going to find the most opportunities. So you see South Africa, you see a lot of Western Europe, you see Brazil and Argentina, you see Canada, the US, and then also you can see, for example, since we're in Mexico, I think it's interesting to note, Mexico is kind of part dark, it's kind of splotchy. It's part dark and part not dark. That's because same-sex marriage has slightly different status in different parts of the country. And what we're gradually going to see, I think, is Mexico will get darker and darker, which is a good thing, so there'll be even more opportunities. But you'll see over where we are in the Yucatan Peninsula, there's a, there's a nice dark blue shade there, which means there are some good opportunities. So there, in those destinations, you're more likely to find wedding planners that are on site, hotels that can help you plan a wedding, and also tour operators, tour companies, and various opportunities like that. The yellow, the yellow, it's actually not stay away. I think it's, I need to read that again. I think the yellow means that they have like some like, they're somewhere in the middle, actually. So I think that they haven't fully made it legal, but I think it might indicate that they recognize domestic exactly, partnerships. I think that might be what it is. So yeah, I don't think that means totally stay away. I think the ones where there's no color at all would be the ones with less opportunities. So another thing I wanted to talk about is why addressing LGBT travel needs can actually be good for your overall market and your overall marketing strategy, and in terms of attracting quote-unquote straight or mainstream travelers and clients as well. So let's talk for a couple minutes about why gay travel is great for straight people. Part of it is because times have changed, as we all know. And so LGBT issues, LGBT people are much more visible now. There's more acceptance. There's same-sex marriage. There's a lot of good things happening. So many people, have an LGBT relative or friend or coworker. So everything is more integrated. Everything is more together. And so that's good. And so that's something we can embrace as business owners and as travel agents and as planners as well. So also another interesting thing that I've found is that I've come across more and more straight people who are having their travel decisions influenced by LGBT travel trends. And I'll give you a couple examples, but these are some of the adjectives that I've come up with as I've spoken with people about straight people who are making their decisions based on LGBT information. They tend to be educated, curious, well-traveled. Some are young, some are middle-aged, some are senior citizens. They have gay friends or family. They're sophisticated. So what are they looking for, though, and what exactly are they doing? One of the things that they're looking for is fun travel and pleasant vacation experience. And so if an a mainstream traveler is visiting a very popular gay destination, this is Provincetown, for example, they're exposing themselves to just another kind of travel experience. So a straight traveler may have an amazing time in a very gay destination and feel completely comfortable. Also, a lot of LGBT travel, a lot of hotels, for example, are known for their quality and also for offering a slightly less touristy experience. You know, the type of traveler who wants to have an authentic travel experience. And I'll give you an interesting example about this. My sister, who's been married for 35 years, she and her husband, last year, they took a trip, their first time ever in Scotland, and they didn't want to stay at like just a standard hotel like a Marriott or something where they'd get a typical travel information from a concierge. So they purposely stayed at a gay-owned, primarily LGBT guest house. And they had a great time because she said that way they were able to get even more of an insider's view. So it wasn't just your usual concierge sitting behind a desk and saying, oh, well, this restaurant is very nice. They were getting real like insider knowledge. And so they didn't step foot in a bar or anything like that because they don't bar hop. But they got great restaurant advice, great shopping advice, art gallery advice and things like that. So I think that says a lot to the possibilities for going gay, even if you're not. Selling point number 3 is that it helps you to support the causes you care about, because we all basically want equal rights for everybody, right? We all deserve the same rights. And so obviously more and more, straight people now support equal rights for LGBT people. And so if it can give you a good feeling to your straight client if they know that they're supporting a company that supports LGBT rights, just like they want to support any company that does good. So by directing them, if you know that a client is thinking along those lines, you can point out things like this, that this company, hey, American Airlines supports equality and they do this and that and support nonprofit organizations. So that can be a selling point as well. You can also save money. That's possible, and because you're going to have more options when you expand your universe of possibilities for your clients. So if you can say, rather than having these 5 hotels, there's a total of 7 hotels that you can choose from. They may save money, and they'll definitely have more options. And gay travel can be safe, and it's even good for business travel. An interesting example here, this hotel is called the Parker Guest House. It's a fairly large, for a guest house, hotel in San Francisco, a beautiful place. And the last time I stayed there, we ran into a straight female business traveler, and she was in San Francisco alone on business, and she said she always prefers to stay in a place like this because she feels safer, because it's better guarded, it's better, they have more vigilance over what's going on. It's a small property, and also she's not going to get hit on at the hotel bar or something like that. She can go to the wine reception that they have every night at this hotel, and she's not going to be hassled. So I think that can be a selling point too. And hotels like that sometimes will actually, instead of advertising their gay friendliness, they'll advertise their straight friendliness. So this is another hotel that's in California. This is in the Russian River Valley near the wine country in Guerneville. And so it's primarily a gay hotel called Highlands Resort, a beautiful little place. But they have a page where they talk about how they're very welcoming to heterosexual travelers as well. So I think that's a great outlook as well, that they acknowledge that they're primarily a gay resort, but they'll welcome anybody. But they just explain this is what to expect if you're staying at the property. And that goes through my main points here. If you give me your cards afterwards, I'd be happy to send you the video link and also a PDF. If you have any questions, just let me know. And I will also be at booth 21 in just a little while, actually. And I'm going to try not to break any more things during the rest of this conference. Thank you very much. Any questions for now? Are we done now? Okay. Oh, okay. That's a good question. I think the good thing is, in a lot of ways, I think almost all hotels are gay friendly in some ways now, because in the old days, I remember when just like 15 years ago, I tried to check in with my boyfriend at a hotel in Massachusetts, and the receptionist just didn't get that we'd reserved one bed and we wanted one bed, and she kept trying to say, all right, this must be a mistake. You want 2 beds. And we're like, no, we don't. And now I don't run into that as much anymore. But I think part of it comes to training. So like if it's a large hotel especially, like to train the staff so that if you see 2 women walk in or 2 men, if the reservation says 1 bed, you shouldn't assume that it's a mistake. So a lot of it comes down to training. I would say that's a big part of it. So they just treat everybody equally. I would say that's and the good thing is, to a large extent, I think that's happened because a lot of large chains are incorporating that as their training now. So that's part of it. Anything else? Yes. Mm-hmm.
Is it necessary as like us being smaller agents? I mean, is it something where acceptance is greenly by seeing that, or?
Yes, it can be. Yeah, you mentioned Tag Approved, and that is a really good organization. They do really good work, and they have really good conferences too. But yeah, there's TAG, and there's also IGLTA, the International Gay and Lesbian Travel Association. So if you have your website set up and you have the logo that says TAG approved or IGLTA member or something like that, that can be one extra thing that can just, if I'm going to your website and I see, oh, you're with IGLTA, that just shows me that, okay, you're taking this market segment seriously enough that you've taken the effort, you've made the effort to join this organization or get that approval. So I think that can be a selling point, because it just shows that you're taking it seriously. It's not like you're just saying, oh, let me just do this when I can. You're taking it seriously as a niche. So yeah, I think that can be a good thing. Either TAG or IGLTA or both. So anything else? Yes.
Are there any destinations that are particularly ungay friendly that we should avoid?
Jamaica. Yes. And where? And Cayman Islands too. Yeah, years ago there was a big scandal at the Cayman Islands where they had, there's the gay cruises, and so I can't remember which company it was, but they had a regular scheduled call, a port call in the Cayman Islands, and the Cayman Islands would not let the people off the boat. This was in the 90s, I think. It was a while back. And the Bahamas, for some reason, for whatever reason, a lot of the former British colonies in the Caribbean seem to be representative of British culture towards homosexuality, but like 100 years ago. So yeah, it's interesting. It's too bad because I've been to Jamaica several times. It's a lovely country, but there's no rights for gay people, and there's reports of violence. So yeah, I would say, Jamaica, Cayman Islands is not necessarily good either. Right, it's very hidden. Right. And what I've always heard also with Jamaica so I have friends who are Jamaican and gay, is they say that, there's a thriving, underground, social scene and party scene, but you as a professional, like, how are you going to connect your client to that? And you also, you just can't have a same-sex couple holding hands in the hotel lobby ever. There's going to be problems. So I focus mostly on this hemisphere, so that's why I'm using those as examples. But I'm sorry? That's less gay friendly in Europe. I mean, Western Europe is very gay friendly. Any Europe experts here? Russia. Well, that's true. Russia, yeah, and Russia is probably getting worse in some ways now, I think. Yeah. Yeah, Northern Europe is very friendly, and they tend to be ahead of this hemisphere in a lot of ways in terms of like same-sex marriage and civil rights and things like that. So that's a good sign. But yeah, Russia would probably be a place to be wary of. Yes.
In building a website, do you suggest having two separate websites or actually having a section like you've shown us that's specific for LGBT?
It depends. I think it's probably a good idea to have it just as a section of your main site. So, when you go to your homepage, it may say, if you have like different categories people can click on, so you could have a section that says LGBT or Pride or, something like that. So I think that's probably good because that way everybody they can find it more easily. Or you could still set up a separate site with a separate domain name, but then still have a place where people can click on your main site and be delivered over to that site as well, I would say. One thing that I found confusing that Puerto Vallarta recently did, because they have a lot of good information, but they recently changed, I think before it said LGBT, and now when I was just before this conference, going on their site just to see what the latest stuff they have is, they have it like kind of hidden with the word diversity, and so I wasn't even sure exactly what that meant. So I think it's better to make it easy to find, so have it someplace that people can click on fairly easily, I think. And in the old days, 20 years ago, or 50 years ago, having LGBT might make you think like, oh, is this going to turn off people who are anti-gay or something? But I think obviously it's the 21st century now, and that's less of a concern. So I think in a way it's going to make you look cooler, Anyone else? Yes.
Are there any cruise lines that are more LGBT friendly than others?
That's a really good question. And there are some gay-specific cruise lines like RSVP and Atlantis. Atlantis is more of a party cruise. I've never done that because I can't hold my alcohol very well. But but there are those. But then also another interesting phenomenon is that I've heard that just about every mainstream cruise line, they have little social gatherings for LGBT passengers, and anybody could go to it. It sounds like you know about this too, right? Friends of Dorothy, yes, exactly. So if you Google, the cruise line name and then Friends of Dorothy, Friends of Dorothy is a reference to the Wizard of Oz, and it's a really, really old way of calling gay people. But they use it in the cruise lines, and so there'll be like a Friends of Dorothy cocktail social or something like that, usually towards the beginning of the cruise. And so that even if someone is going on a mainstream cruise, you can see if they're going to have that cocktail party or a social, and it's a great way for people to connect with other like-minded travelers. And it's not just for LGBT people. Even you just meet the people who are open and have something in common to talk about. Yes, sir. They all do, every single one? Okay, great. That's good, okay. And it's easy to find, you can find out about the information before the cruise on all those lines, right?